It's Monday, March 29th, 2021. I'm calling this special called meeting of the Bee County Commissioners Court to order. We are physically located at the Bee County Courthouse, Commissioners Courtroom, number 110, 105 West Corpus Christi Street, Beeville, Texas, 78102. Moving on, discuss and consider action on the following items. Agenda item number 2, Bee County Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, CAFR, for the year ended 9/30/2020, presented by Singleton Clark Company, PC. How are you, sir? If you just identify yourself for the record and tell us how good we did.
Preston Singleton, and I'm an audit partner with the county's external auditing firm, which is Singleton Clark Company. And thank you, Judge Morrill and Commissioners, for this time to discuss the fiscal year 20 annual financial audit of Bee County and the related financial statements. And as you all know, 2020 was a very challenging year with the pandemic, and of course it's all still not over yet. And when I presented to you this time last year, I can't remember if we were all masked up at that time yet, but we were certainly heading full force into everything and all the shutdowns and that. So the 2020 audit was definitely affected, and in fact we did the entire audit remotely, as many firms did in 2020. And I'll tell you, doing the audit remotely makes it much more disruptive for the audited organization, because when we come out on site, we go and we actually sit across the street up in the DA's office, and they can just bring us everything we ask for, big stacks of invoices, documents, records, put it on the table, and we can go through it. But in the remote setting, you know, everything we asked for had to be scanned and either emailed or uploaded to our portal. So it was much more of an endeavor for the financial personnel of the county. And so I just wanted to thank them for doing all that extra work to get the audit done and still issued here on time at the end of March, like we have done in all the previous years. And we'll see how things go here in 2021, and hopefully we can maybe get back out and come out on site. Yeah. So I'd like to take you first to our independent auditor's report, which is going to be on page 3 of the packet.
Mr. Clark, I apologize for interrupting you. If you so desire, you may remove your mask while you're presenting to us.
Mr. Singleton.
Mr. Singleton? Mm-hmm. My apologies, Mr. Singleton.
So page 3, not Roman numeral, actual page 3 is where I'm headed now. The goal of our audit was to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements of Bee County are free from material misstatements. And a material misstatement can be thought of as an error big enough for someone to care about. Could be an error that might cause you as a court to make a poor financial decision because you relied on faulty financial statements. And so as a result of our audit, we have issued a report on the financial statements of Bee County, giving our opinion to you that we believe the financial statements are accurate as presented. And the opinion is provided in the independent auditor's report there on page 3, down at the bottom of page 3, actually. You're there now. And it's actually a 2-page report, but the bottom of page 3 in the opinion paragraph, there we have used the standard, unmodified, clean version wording in our opinion there, and saying that we believe the financial statements are accurate. And we believe we can make that statement because we actually examined the evidence that supports the numbers in this packet. The financial statements, as you all discussed a little earlier, are presented in a full, comprehensive annual financial report, which is the governmental financial framework of presentation that goes the extra mile. And in addition to all the regular financial statements and notes that the regular packets have. This also contains a transmittal letter at the beginning, other things like a county organizational chart, listing of county officials, and also a full catalog of 10-year statistical schedules in the back. And this 2020 packet represents the county now presenting in this format for 30 years. And when you present financials like this, you can apply to receive a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. And the 2019 certificate is provided on Roman numeral page 4 of the packet. If you want to see what those look like. And this 2020 packet will get graded this summer to see if it also qualifies for another certificate. And we believe that it does qualify. Okay, but after all this work that goes into this financial packet, I'm going to only cover one number with you because I trust that you will all read this entire packet later. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. We've got our time already blocked out.
Perfect, perfect. And the one number I want to cover is fund balance. And you know, I cover fund balance every year. So if you'd like to turn to page 31, I can show you how fund balance is looking for the county. Fund balances of the general fund is the only number I usually cover in the meeting because it's the best financial indicator, the best indicator of the financial health for a governmental entity. And I'd like to show you on page 31 the general fund balance as shown in the budgetary schedule for the general fund. If you're on page 31, it should say at the top, the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, budget and actual general fund. And this schedule shows two budget columns. First there, the original budget as you all adopted it before the year started, and then a final budget column showing how it ended up after all amendments made during the year. And then the third column shows how the numbers actually turned out for the year. And I'll just run down that actual column real quick here. It shows that general fund revenues came in totaling at almost $13.7 million. And that was very close to budget. Then moving down, it shows expenditures came in close to $12.1 million, which was actually, you might notice there in the variance column, on the fourth column, expenditures were about $1.1 million under budget for the year. And in discussing that with the county auditor, it was in her view that that was due to conservative and careful spending during the pandemic as it was going on. And so initially revenues or inflows exceeded expenditures outflows by about $1.6 million. That's moving that a little further down the column. However, there's also some transfers in and transfers out shown further down. Transfers in and out are exchanges of money between the individual funds of the county. There's, in addition to the general fund, there's several other individual funds. And so most of the activity in the transfers section was anticipated, except for about $600,000 in additional transfers needed to go over to the jail construction fund. As you can see, that transfers outline was originally budgeted about $869,000 in the original budget. It ultimately ended up being about $1.5 million in total that does include some other funds, but also a very, large portion of that is transfer out to the jail construction fund. So after it was all said and done, with all this revenue in, expenditures out, transfers in and out, the fund balance did still actually increase, as shown in that third line from the bottom, by about $434,000. Caused the fund balance to end at the very bottom line there of about $5.7 million, and that's as of September 30th. And that's a good, healthy fund balance. I calculated that it represents about 5.5 to 6 months worth of expenditures and reserves for the county. And we always say, you want to try not go below having 3 months of expenditures in your ending fund balance. So you're sitting here with 5.5 or 6, and so that's a good looking fund balance.
Can I ask you a question real quick, or
Sure.
would you rather I wait?
Oh, no, go ahead.
So, with respect to the net change in fund balance being in the positive of $434,017, is there anything that reveals as far as our budgeting process? Are there any takeaways, both in general, but I guess specifically with what you've actually seen? Because you understand the deep dive in our finances. Are there changes to our budgeting process that would make that more efficient or more effective, or is that, given the size of the budget that we have, is that a good?
Well, one thing to take note of is that increase of $434,000 wouldn't have happened if the expenditures hadn't arrived under budget there for the year of $1.1 million. So let's say that expenditures would have arrived, in at budget. Then you would have had the savings there, so then you would have ultimately had a fund balance decrease around $700,000, $800,000 there, I guess. So what kind of saved you was the conservative spending that happened during the year.
So last fiscal year, we did a better job working within our budget to hold back and not use all of our budget, and that's within reason. We didn't have a budget that was too big. I guess that's the question I'm asking. Is our budget too inflated?
Like I mentioned the extra transfer needed out of the jail fund. That would have bit you more if the savings hadn't occurred in the regular part of the budget there. But because you saved the $1.1 million in the regular operating budget, it was more easy to absorb that additional transfer that needed to go out to the jail fund to cover the overages over there.
Excellent. And then one quick follow-up question, and it may be later on in your presentation. Can you point to, is there any one particular, or a few particular locations where our expenditures were decreased to make that $1.5 million? It's not a shortfall in the expenditures, right? I don't know what the proper term is.
Shortfall would be generally more used in the revenue.
Right. I don't know, but where we spent less, and are there a few components,
maybe,
or just overall?
April might have to.
Yes. Well, the jail and the sheriff's office, make up about 700 of that 1.1 million. They are to be commended. They saved a lot of money, and not just their salaries, but also their other services and charges line items. I believe that the discussion that you had, Judge, when we were going into the pandemic and the era of savings that you had put out, I believe that helped us not using all that travel money to transfer into other line items.
Zoom meeting.
Yes, and of course the courts, the district and county courts, there was just no court activity. So those monies, that was a tune of probably $200,000, a little less, in the district and county courts that were saved.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's great. No, thank you. That's just good to know.
Hey, Judge, if you will, each one of us went to Zoom meetings, there's a couple of thousand times 5, there's $10,000. I mean, it adds up real quick when you little here, little here.
And that was in every department,
Exactly.
because nobody could travel,
Right.
and the court, we kind of said, no transferring to supplies. So
Yeah.
you don't have extra money, let's just try to save this, and this is what happened when that, because our revenues did go down. We did lose revenues during that time. And so it just, we really, balanced.
We're on track.
Yes, sir.
Good job on the auditor's part, Judge. I really believe that.
It's
She held the
a
line.
full cooperation. Yes, sir.
Everybody. It's awesome.
Thank you. Apologies for
Oh, no problem.
derailing the the presentation. Please proceed.
And so in a regular year, you might not have that kind of cost savings, but then you also might not have that big additional transfer over to other funds. So, kind of would even out. So again, fund balance looking really good at about 6 months worth of expenditures in reserve. And, okay, to kind of wrap things up, I want to take you to, we got a couple of stapled documents tucked in the back. And I want to take you to the smaller one. It's a letter that looks like this on a letterhead at the top. This is called the letter to the governing body. And the second page of that lists a recommendation that we have this year. And so I would let you know, we don't have any official audit findings on internal controls or compliance matters. We do have this recommendation note here on page 2 on a compliance issue. It's on the topic of state bid law and how purchases that exceed $50,000 in a given year to a single vendor are supposed to be competitively bid out. And we had considered, and almost did make this not a finding, but review of court minutes actually from 10 years ago led us to reconsider and just downgrade this to recommendation. And it's on the topic of purchases for road materials. And the court in 2010 approved a contract for road paving materials from a vendor with the provision for an annual automatic renewal. And that contract has now been renewing for 10 years. And we're recommending that the contract now be rebid. Back then, it was handled that way, apparently due to uncertainty and economic conditions that were going on in 2009, 2010, and the possibility that it would be difficult to obtain road materials. We think now, though, it's time to get that rebid, just to make sure the county is complying with state bid law. So we recommend you guys put your road materials out for rebid again, and also if you approve a multi-year contract, don't let it go past maybe 3 years before you even do it. And so that's spelled out in more detail in the writing there for your reference. That's our only issue that we're specifically commenting on. So overall, a great audit again this year. And I want to thank the county auditor's office and HR, the county clerk, and everyone that helped us get the audit out this year.
Mr. Singleton, one quick question too. Are there other instances of concern with respect to our bid process or our contracts that are in place now, in addition to this road materials agreement, or did your audit not reveal any other?
Nothing else that came to our attention, and actually, we probably should have noticed this, a while back, but during an audit, we don't look at 100% of, everything that would be also possible to do. This is just something that did come to our attention this year, so bring it up and just have you guys address it, try to get some track there.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
So I'd be happy to try and answer any other questions that anyone might have.
Congratulations, Ms. April.
Yes.
Good job, good job.
Thank you.
And good job on the, sheriff's office and jail too.
It's not often that, and it's been quite every year, we've not seen any findings.
This is the fourth year.
Yes.
Who's counting?
Fourth year.
She is.
Yeah.
Very good, Ms. Ken.
Because we want to try to do, the very best that we can, for our county. And this one, bid that was found, we already have it under control. I've already talked to that department, and we will be having that, package come out soon. And that's why we get audited. That's why we have such great auditors that come in and, want to help us stay compliant. So this is what it's about.
Mr. So's on Ms. Ms. Cano's radar as far as the contract, so that way it'll kind of pop up every now and then.
Yes, Yes, and that's, of course, now begun again, the process, because that was, something, that information that was, we have to recover, so, we are on it, so, and she has, put this on her schedule.
Mr. Singleton, thank you for your presentation today and the work and effort of your company on behalf of and for B County. We do appreciate it. Do we need to take action to approve or adopt or accept or receive this? Do we need to take any action at all, or is this just for information purposes only?
For information purposes only.
Are there any other questions that any commissioners might have with respect to the audit or the substance of the audit? Thank you once again, Mr. Singleton.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, agenda item number 3, project expenditure approval for Smith Seckman Reed, Inc., invoice number 16 dated February 2021 for the Sheriff's Office, New Jail.
Move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 4, approved memorandum of understanding between B County and Coastal Plains Community Center with respect to the provision of additional services to Coastal Plains Community Center. If y'all want, I can give y'all kind of a general overview, idea of this. This is an agreement, with our B County Sheriff's Office, being willing to commit, actual, unit between the hours of 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, a unit and a uniformed deputy to respond to the extent that Coastal Plains Community Center has a need to go do a welfare checks or other MHMR-styled interactions with county community citizens in exchange for a sharing of a grant that they received. So it doesn't quite cover, I think, everything that goes into the commitment that the Sheriff's Office is willing to make, but it does help offset it, and it does provide us, again, with another method to try to address the difficulties that our Sheriff's Office and our court system have when it comes to dealing with mental health issues in the county and across the nation. So that's really what the agreement's for. It was brought to us by our friends at Coastal Plain Community Center, and we appreciate them reaching out and giving us this opportunity to work further with them.
And Sheriff, you're familiar with this, and it's, okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
I saw on there that it had a $4,000 cap. Has it ever exceeded that $4,000 cap in any one month? Yes.
That's how much they'll pay.
That's how much they'll pay?
Yes or no?
Oh, so it just, that pretty much stays there, or do they use y'all, or?
Well, we haven't really started yet.
No, okay, so that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
They'll pay that limit.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and there could be sometimes when there isn't a lot of use, but obviously.
It's up to
the commitment
4,000.
Up to 4,000.
Okay.
Okay.
is- Good question. Any further questions, discussion, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you, Sheriff. Agenda item number 5, Texas Department of Public Safety Crime Record Services National Data Exchange, open paren, N-DEX, close parens, user/equipment agreement for the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Southmain, do you have a presentation on this, or is this pretty much housekeeping?
It's pretty much housekeeping. It's just like our NCIC systems and so forth.
Oh, yes, sir.
This is just with, it's put on, Texas GPS is gonna be our overseer, but it's from the FBI and the Department of Justice. It's just more information sharing.
Excellent. Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Commissioner Lenny, sorry, Commissioner Haggard.
No.
Started to hear him, right?
You're fine.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes without exception. I stumbled there, and I lost what I was doing, and I forgot where I was.
Deliberate, sir, deliberate.
Sorry. Moving on, agenda item number 6, resolution designating an engineering service provider for request for qualifications, RFQ number 20/21-006 for the 2020-2022 Community Development Block Grant Colonia Construction Fund application and project-related engineering services.
I'd like to table this, make a motion.
I have a motion to table. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Commissioner, who are the reviewers on this?
Myself, Candy Estrada, Grace, and
Ben, that I made it.
Are we gonna table till next meeting?
it would be, this week.
Wednesday.
Okay,
Wednesday's meeting.
okay.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. We did vote on that, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on, agenda item number 7, reports and possible action on recent IT issues impacting county operations. We don't have any further information to share at this time, but we'll have it on Wednesday's agenda as well, so we'll revisit that. So, moving on, there is no executive session. Agenda item number 8, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Have a motion? Second? Any further discussion?
Are we gonna start going sine die on these,
What's that?
on our adjournment, sine die like the legislature? Even though we're adjourning, everything keeps going.
Yes,
Sine die.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct.
we'll just continue.
That is correct.
Right.
I'll have them,
Absolutely.
I'll have them add
All those in
that.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're out.
Commissioner, you might
I can't believe
you might adjourn sine die, that means everything keeps going.